Sometimes it's hard to find the like-minded people you want to connect with on life's journey. People who are not only interested in fertility, but also spiritually minded and curious about spiritual connections to life experiences. I'm Dr. Maria Rothenberger, and I created the Miracles Happen community for just this purpose. Come join us in Mind, Body, and Soul Speak for your most fertile life. Best of all, it's completely off social media and 100% free. Find us and sign up at www.miracleshappencommunity.com. Welcome to the Miracles Happen Fertility Podcast, where science and spirit are the focus of creating your most fertile life. You'll find a beautiful balance of grounded science-based topics as well as spiritual talk, and how they are both important for moving toward optimal fertility. Empower yourself along with me. I'm your host, Dr. Maria Rothenberger, a fellow fertility friend, therapist, coach, best-selling author, and spirit baby intuitive. Let's get started. Hey, this is Maria. I'm your host for the Miracles Happen Fertility Podcast. This is episode 167. What if miracles happen? I want you to really get into this mindset. What if? What if they actually do? Because people say it, right? People say, oh, miracles happen. Pray for miracles. Miracles happen all the time, blah, blah, blah. But what if you actually lived as if that was ultimate truth? And that's what I'm getting at today. I am going to be reading for you from Transcending Infertility, which was published 2 years ago. This is the month that it was published in. This podcast episode is being published in November of 2022. And 2 years ago, I published Transcending Infertility. It's freaking crazy. Many people have been helped by this book. I've gotten lots of beautiful feedback, and I am so proud and happy to be able to offer this work to you through my own experience in the infertility journey. And then, of course, culminating into building our family through adoption, which was it wasn't a once upon a time, the end kind of story. It was a once upon a time, oh my freaking God, how did that even happen? The end / the beginning of a whole new family life. And so I'm going to be sharing with you one of the, actually just a part of one of the chapters in the book called What If Miracles Happen? It's chapter 9. And if you own the book, read along with me. Yay! Checking in first with you, of course, about the Miracles Happen community, which you can join at miracleshappencommunity.com. Some folks have been finding that direct web link doesn't work. So try miracleshappencommunity.com/feed, and then you may be able to find the group. All that aside, if you cannot find this, the Miracles Happen community, you could also just go to the Mighty Networks app, download Mighty Networks, and search for the Miracles Happen community, and you will find us that way. All kinds of ways, right? Okay, second announcement. The Spirit Baby Foundations training that I generally do in the fall is not going to happen this fall. I've had to postpone it because of various other yeses that I've said already in my calendar. So I have to say no to Spirit Baby Foundations training, but it will be opening in January 2023. So hang on to your hats and glasses because it's going to be fun. Actually, that's funny. I think I actually used that same phrase in the reading that I'm going to give you today. That's probably where I got it from. Hold on to your hats and glasses. Okay, so that is going to be happening in January, but I do encourage you to go to my website to sign up for the waitlist so you get information on it. So drmariarothenberger.com/spiritbabytraining. Go there and sign up for the waitlist, and you will get all the goods, all the information on what's happening with that training. Spirit Baby Foundations training, if you don't know about it, is all about the foundational tools for beginning to communicate with Spirit Baby Realm. Spirit Baby Realm is slightly different than working with the other side. It's, yes, you can still, these are the same foundational tools that you would learn in any mediumship course, but Spirit Baby Realm it just feels a little bit different. I tried to explain it to folks, like, how is it different? It's kind of like in my house, I have a living room. Pretend that all the people in there are people that have passed on. And then in the next room is the dining room. Pretend that all the people that are in there are all the souls waiting to be born. They're just like next door to each other, but in order to communicate with them, you have to actually walk into that room. So it's a different realm. It's just slightly different. It's very loving and compassionate and safe and soft. It's just wondrous and beautiful. So the training is all about the foundational tools for connecting to spirit baby realm. Really, the foundational tools for mediumship in general, but we focus on spirit baby realm. And the course is done on the Mighty Networks app. So may as well go to Mighty Networks right now and search for the Miracles Happen community, sign up for the free portion there. And then the course will be starting in there in January for folks who purchase the course. Any other questions, certainly shoot me an email, info@drmariarothenberger.com. Okay. Hey, let's get started on this reading for you from Transcending Infertility, which is an Amazon #1 bestseller. Woot! So you can go pick it up over at Amazon, or you can order it from my website. And bonus, I will sign it for you and leave a little love message in there too if you order from my website. Okay, this is a reading from Chapter 9, What If Miracles Happen? And I should tell you, if you don't own this book or you don't know what it's about, it is a combination of my own journey through the fertility struggle and how I came clean on the other side. I'd like to use the analogy of Andy Dufresne from the Shawshank Redemption. If you haven't seen that movie, there's a scene where he crawls through a sewage pipe in order to escape the prison. And the phrase is, Andy Dufresne crawls through a river of shit and comes out clean on the other side. That's how I felt about infertility. And along the way, I learned some stuff. And that's what the book is about, is really paying forward what I learned to you. Real, practical, useful things that you can do in your life right now to start creating miracles. The tagline of the book is 9 keys for improving fertility, creating miracles, and being a better human. So all the things that are in this book talk about specific tasks and why they are useful for improving your fertility, why they are useful for creating miracles, and why they are useful for actually being better than you used to be. Why the trauma of infertility can actually create a better version of you than you ever thought possible. Okay, the chapter that I'm reading from, Chapter 9, What If Miracles Happen, is all about our adoption, what happened, how we came to adopt our son. But today, I believe I have read that for you before. Today, I'm going to be reading the fertility key in this chapter. So I've already written in this book at this point about how our son came to be with us and the miraculousness around it. It's absolutely, I mean, I read it even now and I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't even believe it. Like, that happened. It really did. Everything in this book, there is no exaggeration. It actually happened. So I'm going to read from you, or for you though, from the same chapter, and this is the fertility key. So each chapter has a fertility key, and that is, hey, this is what you need to get from this part of my story, part of my journey, and here's how you can get it. Okay? So the fertility is called You Can Create Miracles, and this first section is Miracles for Your Body. Okay, here we go. Miracles seem far-fetched, don't they? By definition, they don't come to fruition by any explainable science and are therefore considered to have come from a divine source. I'm saying right now that you are a divine being and you can therefore create miracles. If you're like me a couple of decades ago, you're rolling your eyes right now thinking, oh man, I was on board until she got all hippie on me. I would still be rolling my eyes if it weren't for the fact that I thought about being a mom through adoption of a little boy in Korea, and several months later, despite all the supposed evidence that it wasn't going to happen, he showed up. That is an undeniable fact. Mind you, this isn't the only time I've let go of control, trusted big things to happen, and had things just show up. Like the time we had no jobs and no place to live, packed up all our shit into a 16-foot moving truck, and drove cross-country to start fresh. I just knew that all would be well and that we'd be safe and happy. There were bumps and obstacles, of course, but in the end, jobs, shelter, happiness. Even though miracles can manifest in all areas of your life, let's start with a brief explanation of how this process works for your body. It may seem a little more scientific than you thought. You may be familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work already. If not, hang on to your hats and glasses because I'm about to get nerdy. Dr. Dispenza is a chiropractor and neuroscientist who speaks in practical terms about how our thoughts affect our bodies. In short, every time we create a thought, our brains send signals to the cells in our bodies via chemicals. So think about this. If our cells are responding to chemical correspondence of thought, then our cells are literally the way they are because of our thoughts. But what is actually changing in our cells, you may ask? Dr. Bruce Lipton, in his book, The Biology of Belief, talks about chemical signals communicating to our cells what genes need to be expressed based on the signals being received. Put simply, your thoughts change which genes are expressed. In the fertility world, this is apparent when we live month after month desperately attempting to create fertility, when we keep having thoughts that we're infertile. If instead you begin thinking, quote, I am fertile, unquote, you'll begin sending signals to your body that you are indeed fertile. Here's a real life example. I have a genetic predisposition to endometriosis, meaning that this condition runs in my family. When I live with stressful thoughts, my body sends signals to my cells that it's time to express the genes that are in line with stress. For me, that is endometriosis and other health issues. If, however, I quiet the desperation in me and consciously begin to imagine being in the future I want to be in, the messages sent to my cells are those of wellness, and my cells will begin to express the genes that match wellness. Incidentally, I haven't had symptoms of endometriosis since about 6 months after beginning to practice the concepts in this book. Miracles beyond the body. We've been talking about utilizing your consciousness, thoughts, and emotions to make real changes in your body or your biology. You might be thinking, well, that's all well and good, but what does this have to do with a little Korean boy showing up on your doorstep? Here's where things get weird and frankly controversial. Once again, I encourage you to do your own research. I've done my own over many years, and this is the only way I can explain our son showing up the way he did. Let's start with some science, shall we? There's a famous experiment in quantum physics called the double slit experiment. In this experiment, light directed at a pair of slits exhibits characteristics of both waves and particles. As Popular Mechanics described it, the logic-defying double slit experiment is even weirder than you thought. They're right. The results transcend the boundaries of Newtonian physics, which explains much about our universe and all that's in it, things we can touch and feel and the behaviors of particles. However, as the double slit experiment suggests, there's a slew of things that occur on the subatomic quantum level that can't be explained by classical physics. Explaining the entirety of this experiment is beyond the scope of this book, so I'll just get to the two major conclusions. 1. All possibilities exist at the same time. 2. What you attend to is what is made manifest. Are you fully grasping how powerful this makes you? It's amazing. Just like the photons shot at the double slits, all possibilities for your future parenthood reality exist at the same time. It's your attention to what you want, for example, living as if your baby is already here, that creates that reality. What you think about, how you live, and how you perceive things are meaningful. Your whole attitude, how you embody fertility struggles, and how you move through stress and struggle are meaningful. You matter, and you are incredibly powerful. Just sit with that for a moment. Now, here's something that trips up most people dealing with infertility. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. Quote, "But Maria, I don't want to set myself up for major disappointment by thinking I already have what I don't actually have. I'd rather prepare myself for the worst." End quote. Well, I have news for you, my friend. If you're living in the headspace of what if the worst thing happens, you'll be creating the perfect petri dish for your stress hormones to hang out and percolate and govern your every move. You may notice less stress tolerance, more crankiness, sadness, irritation at others' mere presence, yelling at your partner, and other unwanted experiences. I like to call that, quote, fear soup. You're sitting in a bunch of chemicals brought on by fear, which weakens you. In short, you're not preparing yourself for the worst. You're preparing yourself to not be able to handle the worst when it comes. You will have weakened yourself so much, you'll barely have enough energy to acknowledge that the shit has hit the fan. Even if your miracle were to actually happen, you'd be less likely to enjoy it. Further, just as quantum physics shows, when you attend to the shit hitting the fan, the universe conspires to make that happen. Yes, the difference between your miracle and the worst case scenario is cavernous. Experiencing the worst case scenario while holding on to the image of your miracle is extremely painful, and one might argue it's more painful than had you been, quote, preparing for the worst case scenario all along. I hear you. Somehow, we've been led to believe that by conjuring up worst case scenarios in our minds, we're more capable of planning and handling them when they happen. If you're like me, this is the way you've been living for a long time, but it's an illusion. It's important to note here again, your fertility struggles are not your fault. You cannot change something you didn't realize was a problem. Love all the parts of yourself that have been recreating your past and begin to do better. You've already started doing so throughout this book. Continue the journey with the following action steps. Action steps. Basking in possibility. The following exercises are designed to help you wrap your mind around thinking in terms of possibility. These exercises are meant to be lighthearted and done in the spirit of fun. Your heart should feel lighter after having completed them. And after all that deep science just now, I know you can use a little lightness. I've got your back, love. Exercise 1. Gratituding. I once worked with a client who was telling me of her accomplishments since we'd last met, and she noted she had been doing her, quote, gratituding. I absolutely loved the implication of making gratitude an action, and I told her right then I was stealing that word. The truth is, gratitude is a state of being, but it takes some work to get there. Our consciousness has all the intent, but it takes a while for our brains to catch up. This exercise is the practice of gratituding, so you can reach the heretofore elusive state of gratitude. Get your journal out for this one. Every day, twice a day, write 3 things you are grateful for. That's it. It doesn't matter what those things are. I've written about loving the smell of oncoming rain or the fact that my slippers wait for me at the bottom of the stairs. Last night, I delighted in how my dog smells. It's not always pleasant, mind you, but it means he's with me and I love it. The point is, you'll be developing an awareness that things in your world right now are gorgeous, just right, and exactly as you'd like them to be. After a while, this will be second nature, and you'll be more likely to notice the awesomeness that is your life rather than any crap that shows up. In addition, the crap will be easier to handle because of the awesomeness. Exercise 2. The Remember When game. I was once at a training where I had the pleasure of meeting a gorgeous soul who introduced me to this game. Because I'm one who likes to pay gifts forward, I'm introducing it to you here. Some people find it very difficult, to get into the headspace of their miracle happening. It's difficult when everything around you is evidence that you don't have your miracle yet. So, in the spirit of fun, I invite you to play the Remember When game. This is best played with your partner, but you can certainly just play it by writing your thoughts down in your journal. Remembering when involves acting as if you're already in your future reality. Speak about today as if it were your past. Around your fertility struggles, the conversation with your partner might look like this. Remember when we didn't have our baby yet, how anxious I was? How sad I was? Remember that time I wanted to pick up that one baby blanket because it had the cute monkeys on it and I felt so weird about it? Now our baby snuggles with it. Isn't that crazy? And remember when you had to give me those shots and how nervous you were? Looking back now, it's so hilarious. Oh, and remember when your sister was scared to tell us she was pregnant? Man, I felt so bad. Now I'm so grateful for her discretion and she's like the best aunt ever. If you're playing this game right, you'll both be reminiscing as if this is literally your past and everything is resolved now. Everything you've ever dreamed of has come to fruition, and just like our little man coming home from Korea, it will feel as if it always was. Have fun with this game. It's really a great time over a glass of wine. I know from personal experience. Exercise 3. Noticing synchronicities. I was once on a camping trip with my family, sitting by a riverbank and reading a book when I heard a hawk cawing. Pausing in my book, I watched as she seemingly floated above the river, hunting for a fish. She would dive into the water, make a big splash, emerge without a fish, and fly back to the east end of the river, slowly making her way back to where she'd previously noticed a fish. She dove in so many times that I lost count. After a good 20 minutes of this, I finally went back to my book. A few paragraphs later, my jaw dropped as I read the part of a scene where a bird repeatedly dove into a river in search of a fish. In my real life, the hawk was still fishing. I reread the paragraph and sat in total awe with a knowing smile on my face. That's a perfect example of synchronicity. How one interprets this is completely up to them. For me, well, I was struggling with a work issue, and the message I got from my intuition was to beef up my tenacity. I simply had to keep on keeping on. In this exercise, I'd like you to notice synchronicities that pop up for you as you experience gratitude and play the Remember When game. Instead of an infertility trigger, these synchronicities should elicit a sense of awe, wonder, and guidance. They should leave you like I was, in total awe with a knowing smile. Perhaps you'll even shake your head. Write down each time this happens and watch the synchronicities pile up. Fertility Mantra. Practice this mantra in the morning and in the evening for the next 10 days. Breathing in, all possibilities exist. Breathing out, what I attend to becomes reality. Breathing in, miracles happen. Breathing out, I can create miracles. Repeat this mantra 3 times, in the morning and in the evening. The next action step in this book is actually a fertility meditation called The Bridge to the Other Side. I'm not going to read it for you today, but if you have the book, there is a link to all of the meditations for every single chapter in this book for free. They are recorded by yours truly with beautiful music in the background, and they are yours to use free with purchase of the book. So, those are your action steps for beginning this process of creating miracles. I gave you the tiniest examples of synchronicities and signs and things like that in my life that show when those kinds of things happen. If you own the book, reread that chapter. It's chapter 9, and it's replete with examples of miracles happening. Things that I just can't even make up. It's so surreal that these things happened in order to bring our son into our life. You may be having synchronicities in your life that you're not even recognizing. So begin opening up and noticing and looking for signs, and see if you write them down, see if there's a pattern. In fact, I encourage you to write them down. Write them all down, and then see what the patterns are. And over time, if you don't recognize the meaning right away, over time, you will. Okay. May you see all the good that is in your life right now in balance with the not so good, or the things that don't serve you. Please focus on both. That's living a well-balanced life. If you are focused on the heaviness or the darkness or the things that you don't have, really amp up your gratituding. Pay attention to the things that are really great about your life and write those down every day and every night. And then really have a good time playing that Remember When game. Boy, it is so fun. We have played it multiple times, and we've even gone to the extent of creating physical representations of our future. So like I've talked about this before, when we wanted to purchase the house that we're in now, we made an offer, but another offer came in and they ended up giving it to the other family. And I said, babe, that is okay. Look, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're manifesting. And I said, we're just going to sit with the possibility that this deal is going to fall through. And in a couple weeks, we're going to get a call. Hey, do you still want a house? So what did we do? We sat with that and how good that would feel, and like cracking open a bottle of champagne and cheersing. And then my husband parked his truck in front of the house. It was empty. And he took a picture like, oh, my truck is parked out front. That's my house. And he would look at that picture and feel into what it was like. And lo and behold, it wasn't even 2 weeks later. It was like a week and a half later, our realtor called us and said, hey, you still interested in that house? The other deal fell through. And here we are, however many years later. That's another example. And you can create this in your family building life. You absolutely can create miracles. Start now with these small steps. Thinking about you, sending you all the gratitude for listening, for tuning into the Miracles Happen Fertility podcast. And I hope to see you in the Miracles Happen community and in other venues. May you be well, may you be abundant, and may all of your dreams and miracles come true. Take care.